Hello, curious minds. Welcome to an exciting journey into the incredible world of plants. Today, we are diving deep into diversity in living organisms, focusing on a fascinating group, angiosperms. These are the flowering plants with enclosed seeds, which include two major types, monocots and dicots. We'll explore their unique features, from easy introductions to advanced competitive insights. Get ready to uncover the secrets of the plant kingdom. Ready to discover the basics of flowering plants? Let's start with what makes angiosperms so special and how we can tell their two main groups apart easily. Angiosperms are truly everywhere. They are the flowering plants, the ones that give us fruits, vegetables, and beautiful flowers. Think of a mango or an apple, their seeds are hidden inside the fleshy fruit. This enclosed seed is their defining feature. They reproduce using these seeds, which begin their life inside a flower. Examples like roses, sunflowers, and even the rice you eat are all angiosperms. Now, within angiosperms, we have two big families. First, monocots, short for monocotyledon. Cotyledon is just a fancy word for a seed leaf. Monocots have only one of these in their seed. Look at their leaves, and you'll see veins running parallel, like lines on a ruler. Their roots are usually thin and spread out, called fibrous roots. And their flower parts, like petals, often come in groups of 3. Think of grasses, corn, or lilies. On the other hand, dicots, or dicotyledons, have 2 seed leaves. Their leaves have veins that form a net-like pattern, like a spider web. They usually have a strong, single main root called a taproot, like a carrot. And their flower parts are typically in 4s or 5s. Beans, roses, and mango trees are all dicots. Simple, right? Time to test your understanding. Think about these questions. What's the one big thing that makes angiosperms unique? How many seed leaves do monocots hide in their seeds? And can you give me 2 examples of plants that are dicots? Pause, think, and see if you've got it. Let's step up our game. Now that we know the basics, let's explore angiosperms, monocots, and dicots in a bit more detail. Angiosperms aren't just pretty, they're the most successful plant group on Earth, making up 80% of all green plants. Their secret? Flowers, which are like advertisements for pollinators, ensuring efficient reproduction. And then there are fruits, which not only protect the developing seeds but also cleverly help spread them far and wide. They also have a unique process called double fertilization, where 2 sperm cells play different, crucial roles in forming both the embryo and its food source. Cotyledons, those initial seed leaves, are more than just numbers. They are vital for a seedling's survival. In monocots, the single cotyledon often acts as a bridge, absorbing nutrients from a separate food store called the endosperm. Think of a corn seed. Dicot seeds, like a bean, have 2 fleshy cotyledons that directly store food. This difference impacts how the seedling first grows. Beyond cotyledons, monocots have scattered vascular bundles in their stems and don't usually grow wider like trees. Dicots, however, have their vascular bundles neatly arranged in a ring, often allowing them to grow into thick, woody trees. Delving deeper into their structures, monocots typically have fibrous root systems, which are excellent for preventing soil erosion and absorbing water from the surface. Their leaves exhibit distinct parallel venation, a characteristic that makes them easily identifiable. Dicots, in contrast, usually possess a taproot system, which anchors the plant firmly and allows it to access deeper water sources. Their leaves showcase a reticulate, or net-like, venation pattern. These structural differences are key to their survival strategies and ecological roles. Alright, let's see how well you've grasped the medium-level concepts. Can you explain what double fertilization is and why it's so important for angiosperms? What's the main job of those cotyledons we talked about? How do the tiny tubes, the vascular bundles, look different in monocot and dicot stems? What kind of root system would you expect to find in a dicot plant? And finally, what two features would you look for to tell a monocot leaf from a dicot leaf? Take your time to answer these. Ready for a challenge? Let's analyze the incredible success of angiosperms and delve into deeper comparisons between monocots and dicots. Angiosperms' dominance isn't by chance. Their flowers have co-evolved with pollinators like bees and birds, making reproduction incredibly efficient. Imagine a bee attracted to a colorful flower. It's a perfect partnership. And then, fruits act as both protectors and clever dispersers for seeds, ensuring new plants grow far and wide. Their ability to complete their life cycle quickly also allows them to adapt to diverse environments faster than other plant groups. These innovations have truly cemented their place at the top of the plant kingdom. Let's put monocots and dicots side by side for a clear comparison. Remember, monocots have one seed leaf, fibrous roots, scattered stem bundles, parallel leaf veins, and flower parts in threes. Their pollen usually has one groove. Dicots, on the other hand, have two seed leaves, a strong taproot, stem bundles in a ring, net-like leaf veins, and flower parts in fours or fives. Their pollen typically has three grooves. These distinct features are the keys to identifying and classifying these two major plant groups. Angiosperms are not just pretty, they are the backbone of our ecosystems and economies. They provide almost all our food, from grains like rice to fruits and vegetables. They churn out the oxygen we breathe and create habitats for countless animals. Beyond food, they give us timber for homes, fibers for clothes like cotton, and even life-saving medicines. Their diverse reproductive strategies, from attracting specific pollinators to developing various fruit types for dispersal, highlight their incredible adaptability and why they thrive in almost every corner of the earth. It's time for some harder questions. Can you explain two big reasons why angiosperms became so dominant? How do monocot and dicot roots and leaves differ? Name 3 ways angiosperms are vital for the environment. What are two non-food products we get from these plants? How do fruits help angiosperms reproduce successfully? What are the typical numbers of flower parts for each group? And finally, describe the arrangement of vascular bundles in a dicot stem. Challenge yourself. Alright, future botanists and scientists, prepare to dive into the most advanced aspects of angiosperms. We are going beyond the textbook, exploring their origins, intricate mechanisms, and profound impact. The rise of angiosperms is one of biology's greatest mysteries, once dubbed Darwin's abominable mystery due to their rapid appearance in the fossil record. Modern molecular studies, however, are helping us piece together their ancient lineage, revealing that they emerged much earlier than previously thought, around 180 million years ago. Studying basal angiosperms, the earliest diverging groups like water lilies, helps us understand the primitive features that eventually led to the incredible diversity we see today. These plants are like living fossils, offering clues to the very first flowering plants. Double fertilization is not just unique, it's a brilliant evolutionary strategy. One sperm fertilizes the egg, creating the embryo, the future plant. Simultaneously, another sperm fuses with two central nuclei to form the endosperm, which is the nutrient-rich food supply for that very embryo. This dual fertilization ensures that the plant only invests energy in creating food if a viable embryo is formed, a remarkable efficiency. This triploid endosperm also allows for rapid growth and development of the embryo, giving angiosperms a competitive edge in diverse environments. While our monocot-dicot rules are generally sound, nature always has surprises. For instance, the pollen of true dicots, or eudicots, typically has 3 distinct furrows, known as tricolpate pollen, a key microscopic identifier. Monocots, conversely, usually have a single furrow, or monosulcate pollen. And although most monocots don't grow wide like trees, some, like palm trees or Dracena, exhibit a unique form of anomalous secondary growth, thickening their stems without the typical vascular cambium ring found in dicots. These nuanced details reveal the incredible diversity and evolutionary pathways within these groups. Angiosperms are not just plants, they are the foundation of our civilization. They provide the vast majority of our food, and through genetic engineering, we are constantly improving crops for higher yields and better nutrition, impacting global food security directly. Many life-saving medicines, from pain relievers to cancer treatments, originate from their chemical compounds. Beyond that, they're essential for biofuels, construction materials, and even maintaining the very air we breathe and the stability of our soils. Understanding and conserving this diversity is paramount for the future of our planet. Alright, let's tackle the first set of competitive questions. What's the angiosperm enigma, and how have molecular studies changed our view of it? Can you describe the two distinct fertilization events in double fertilization? Why is double fertilization considered an evolutionary advantage? What's a key microscopic difference in pollen between typical monocots and eudicots? And finally, explain an exception to the rule about monocots lacking secondary growth, giving an example. Now for the remaining 5 challenging questions. How has genetic modification of angiosperms significantly impacted global food security? Can you name 2 important medicinal compounds that come from angiosperms? Beyond food, what are 3 other crucial economic contributions these plants make? How do angiosperms contribute to what we call ecological engineering? And lastly, what's the significance of studying basal angiosperms in understanding their overall evolution? Think critically. And that concludes our deep dive into angiosperms, monocots, and dicots. We've journeyed from basic definitions to advanced evolutionary insights. I hope you've gained a profound appreciation for the incredible diversity and importance of the plant kingdom. Remember, learning never stops. For more amazing content and to continue your educational adventure, visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting lessons. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.